What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Monday Morning Maester. I am your 2-Bit Maester, and oh boy, did episode 3, The Burning Mill, deliver the best episode of the second season of House of the Dragon. I really want to talk about it, but we're exposed out here. So let's go join Sir Criston and Gwayne Hightower under the cover of trees and talk about it. All right, guys, so we start this episode off straight from the jump with a good old-fashioned land squabble, a good old pissing match between the two biggest and hated rivals, a straight-up blood feud that's gone on for centuries here between two houses that are right in the Riverlands, right? And that would be House Blackwood and House Bracken. The House Blackwood representative there is on the left, and the one from House Bracken is the one on the right. Now, where have we seen these before in House of the Dragon? If you can recall Season 1, Episode 4 of House of the Dragon, when Rhaenyra goes on her tour of the Seven Kingdoms, searching for her suitor that Viserys is making her do, she makes a pit stop at Storm's End and gets petitions from everyone young and old and in between. And there's a little battle that breaks out where things escalate pretty quickly with the two guys on the screen right there, where the Blackwood on the right goes and stabs the Bracken on the left and actually kills him, drops him right there in Storm's End. And at that point right there is really when Rhaenyra is like, okay, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. Like, this is like, I didn't think that like I was going to end this tour here with a Blackwood and Bracken battle. But yeah, if you're wondering if you've ever seen them before on our screens, there was a little glimpse right there into the hated, I almost combined heated and hated right there, but it's fitting, rivalry between these two river lords. All right, back to the map. All right, so back to the map here, as we can see, House Blackwood right here, they call Raventree Hall home. That's their castle, okay? The Brackens call Stonehenge home. That is their castle. They're next door neighbors. That's not good, okay? That's not good. Now, how did the Blackwoods end up here? Well, they used to be in the north. That's where they used to call their home, except the Starks, the Kings of Winter, drove them out of the north due to some conflict, and the Blackwoods found their home here in the Riverlands along the Blackwater Rush, okay? And it's not shocking whenever you see the Blackwoods and that they came from the north. First and foremost, they pray to a weirwood tree, right? They keep the old gods. They're one of the very few southern houses below the neck that still do that. And I think just in general, too, whenever you read about some of these ancient Blackwood characters, and even all the way up to, you know, A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, etc., they have very much northern qualities. They are loyal. They keep their vows. If they swear an oath, they keep it. And then you look at the Brackens on the other hand, and I think the Brackens are very much like Slytherins, right? And I think that's where the dispute kind of happened a little bit. The Blackwoods looked at Brackens as like up-jumped horse keepers. And you'll start to see, like, you'll see where like their loyalties lie throughout the history of Westeros. It seems like they always kind of side with the person that's just very easy to hate. And then obviously you see them take up that cause here in this episode. Naturally, the Brackens are taking up the green banner of Aegon and the Hightowers, and the Blackwoods, true to their vows, are going to go ahead and side with Rhaenyra. Now, like I said before, no one really knows what started this blood feud between them. And I think that you see a lot of parallels of that in this episode with Rhaenyra and the conversations that she has with Rhaenys and then with Alicent. And what I mean by that is that they talk about, well, does anyone even know at this point what started this horrible trajectory that we started out on here? You know, first it's all the fighting back at King's Landing, and then it's what happens to Luke, and then it's what happens to Aegon's son Jaehaerys. What even started this war at this point? And again, the same thing can be applied to the Brackens and the Blackwoods. So again, there's like 100 different things that you could really, this is a whole separate video of you know, all the feuds and the battles and the rivalries between the Blackwoods and the Brackens. First and foremost, their overlord, the Tullys of Riverrun. I feel bad for him. It's like the teacher that gets like the really bad kids in class that they just always have to deal with. They have to deal with these two all the time and have to come up and what's the punishment? Who's getting awarded what? Can I try and, you know, make peace here by aligning maybe a marriage between their houses? And then, hey, maybe things look good for a second, and then before you know it, someone looks at someone the wrong way, someone takes a piss in a creek that then flows into the other side's property. A Romeo-Juliet situation. She's winking at Blackwood, and then all of a sudden, like, the Brackens are mad. Again, the point that I'm trying to make here is that it doesn't take much to set this rivalry back off, and that's what you get between two houses that have hated each other for so long and have to live right next door to each other. So apply this to real life. If you live right next door, you have a bad relationship with your neighbor. All right, maybe they cut the grass too early on the weekends. Maybe the dog takes a shit on your side of the property. Maybe they have 5 motorcycles and they need to rev them up 4 days a week at 8:30 at night just to feel that fucking engine purr, baby. I don't know. It's going to be a lot worse when you live right next door to somebody. If that person that you don't like lives 2 streets over, it's not as bad. Okay. But when you live right next door to them and you see them all the time and you're constantly reminded how much you do not like them and how much you're told whenever you're growing up that you do not like them. So if you're a young Blackwood or a young Bracken and you're constantly being told, we don't like them, they are our rival, we hate them, we despise them. It's just a constant cycle, right? It is a loop that constantly just keeps going and going and going in. And that's what's happened between the Blackwoods and the Brackens. They're always on the separate side of a conflict if there's a war, and there's never a peace between them. And if there is a peace, it's not for very long. Okay. It just isn't. And you can see it right here, right at the beginning of this episode. They instantly are on 2 different sides. Is it shocking? Would I expect the Brackens to take the side of Rhaenyra? No, I don't. Them taking Aegon's side is literally perfect because it seems like they always have like the more like cunning, conniving perpetrator or character in whatever the conflict is. And if you're reading other things such as like A Tale of Dunk and Egg, or if you're even going, reading A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones through A Dance of Dragons, there's always a conflict. There's always a feud and a battle. And it seems like the Brackens are always on like the asshole side. It's just the way it is. Right. And the Blackwoods, again, not shocking because they have that northern background. They seem to resemble the Starks, right? Or the Karstarks or the Umbers. They have, again, very much that sense of duty and honor. And, I swore a vow, I'm here to keep it. So that's your little history lesson on the Blackwoods and the Brackens. As we can see here, and that red X right there, by the way, I should describe that. That is the Burning Mill. That is the battle right there that kind of kicks off, again, like I said before, the Dance of the Dragons. Obviously, there was some more individual, independent moments, some one-on-one shit that got the fire fanned earlier. Aemond and Luke, and then obviously with the domino effect that Daemon set in motion there whenever he dispatches Blood and Cheese into the Red Keep and hopes that those 2 jackasses are going to carry out, his request. This is actually the first battle that we see where, there's one side under a black banner, there's another side under a green banner, and then we see the aftermath. Okay, so the next scene I wanted to provide some more clarity and detail to. We're going to fast forward to the conversation that Rhaenyra has with Rhaena, where Rhaenyra tells Rhaena that she is going to go and take Prince Joffrey, which is her 3rd son that she had with Sir Harwin Strong, and then the 2 sons that she had with Daemon, Aegon and Viserys. She's going to go and take them over to her cousin, Lady Jane Eyre, up in the Vale. So we are at Dragonstone here with Rhaena and Rhaenyra. That's where they're at. And they're headed all the way up here to the Eyrie, which is the capital of the Vale of Arryn. Lady Jane Eyre is the lady of the castle. She's been the lady of the castle since she was pretty much 3 years old. She had her dad, who was the lord, and her older brothers got killed by the mountain clans. So it was hers. It is still hers. She holds that title for a very long time. But that is where Rhaenyra is going to go and send her children, and basically going to have Rhaena raise them as if she is their mother, like she explains to her. Now, Rhaena doesn't want to hear this because she's seeing her older sister, Baela, who has a dragon that's able to fight, as we see later in this episode. She's jealous, right? Like she looks at this task as something that's below her, demeaning. She's basically the babysitter. But what Rhaenyra tries to stress to her is that I can't be a mom to these kids. These kids are insanely important to our line and our succession and taking the throne. And if I die, like, who's left? She's still got 3 kids, right, that are super young that need to be looked after, and keeping them at Dragonstone. And I agree with her move here. She can't keep them at Dragonstone. So I agree with Rhaenyra's move here. She definitely needs to get Joffrey and Aegon and Viserys the hell out of Dragonstone, because God knows when Aemond on Vhagar or Aegon on Sunfire or whoever is going to come swooping in, and she can't have her whole line, 3 heirs, just sitting there inside the castle, right? We saw what just happened at King's Landing with Jaehaerys a couple episodes ago. Anybody could go in there, and we saw what just happened in the last episode where Sir Eric goes and infiltrates the castle under the guise of his twin brother, right? That could have happened in the last episode. And we see what happens at the end of the first episode with Blood and Cheese. So Rhaenyra, again, she has to get her kids out of there. If her castle gets surrounded, if Dragonstone's surrounded by sea and air and land, the kids are in big trouble, right? They're in big trouble. So she needs to get them out of there to ensure her line continues regardless of what happens to her and Daemon and the rest of her house that are able to fight. She needs to get them out. So that's where she's sending them. She's sending them to the Eyrie. As we know, Jace was successful whenever he went there at the end of the first season. He's good to go to the Vale of Arryn. He's to go to Winterfell. We know that he's successful in both of those endeavors. He gets both of them to bend the knee and recall their vows and their oaths and fealty that they swore to Viserys for Rhaenyra back in the first season. So this is a follow up on that. This is reaping the rewards of that. She gets to go and send her heirs to the Eyrie. For now, she says for Aegon and Viserys. She's going to send Joffrey there, but she's thinking that she might be able to send them a little bit further away. She wants Rhaena to write to a prince in Pentos, which is where we see them stay in the first season. As Rhaena comments, that's where her mom died. So that's getting ahead of ourselves there. I just wanted to highlight here where Dragonstone is right there and where the Eyrie is. It's not a terrible distance, but I don't know how they're going to travel there. As Rhaena says, she doesn't have a dragon and she's transporting kids. So I guess they're taking the boat. I guess that's the way they're going to go. They're probably going to go around here. I don't know if they go and dock at Gulltown. That's the major city there in the Vale. Dragonstone to Gulltown's pretty short. I think they probably would want to limit that exposure just in case one of Team Green's dragons sees them and swoops down. And then all of a sudden they got 3 of Rhaenyra's heirs under control and or dead. So that's just a little bit of an explanation right there. And something else to add on that part too, is I was just about ready to close out this map. This may be the worst time to not have a dragon. Forget the war. Forget all of the battles. Traveling from Dragonstone to the Eyrie, I can't think of many more daunting tasks. I mean, you could look at somewhere like the march from Winterfell down to Sunspear, but at least you have like the King's Road that can take you the majority of the way there. This is going to be via boat to Gulltown, I would reckon. And I mean, potentially they could go around Crockclaw Point and then go in past the Quiet Isle and the Salt Pans to the High Road. And the High Road is what takes you up to the Bloody Gate and then up to the Eyrie. They may just do that. Maybe that makes more sense. But that's not an easy hike. And I can't imagine how easy that is whenever you're on a dragon via sailing and then hiking up to the Eyrie, right? We recall from Game of Thrones what it's like getting to the Eyrie and what it looks like up there. It's not fun stuff, people. They don't even stay up there in the winter. They have to go down the mountain because of how bad it gets up there. So a safe place, I think safe to say a safe place to send the kids for now. Again, obviously someone from Team Green could swoop up there, right? Just as easily as Jace swooped up there to get their allegiance. And as easily as Visenya swooped up there initially whenever Aegon the Conqueror came to Westeros. And they were able to successfully, and without bloodshed, get the Arryns to bend the knee. Okay, so the next location I wanted to go over is one that I really wanted to talk about last week, but I had some self-control because I figured that we were going to get there in this third episode here with Daemon, and that would be Harrenhal. Okay, Harrenhal is right here, and Daemon got there via Dragonstone. So once again, Dragonstone is a starting point or King's Landing for a lot of our folks that are traveling here. So Dragonstone to Harrenhal. Harrenhal is in the Riverlands. Just some fun facts about Harrenhal. It is in the Riverlands. It is the largest castle in the Seven Kingdoms. It was the main castle of the Riverlands and the Iron Islands before Aegon conquered the Seven Kingdoms. Now, the prior owner at that time, his name was Harrenhal, Hoare. Don't you think about it any other way. And he took 40 years to construct, and what he wanted to accomplish is the largest castle, the most intimidating castle that Westeros could see. And right around the time that it was finished completion is pretty much when Aegon the Conqueror landed on the shores of Westeros, setting forth to conquer all seven kingdoms. And let's just say that our good buddy there, King Harrenhal, wasn't ready to accept that news or accept that fate. He's one of the few people. Well, I say few. It's almost split. The people that defy Aegon whenever and his sister wives, whenever they come to Westeros, and the ones that just readily bend the knee. Like House Stark just readily bends the knee. The Arryns bend the knee. There actually are more that fight than don't. House Hor of the Riverlands and the Iron Islands, by the way, they decided to fight. They have the largest castle, right? They have a very strong family, and they're not going to bend the knee that easily. Well, Aegon goes up there and torches the living shit out of his newly constructed castle, fucking it all up, all right? And it's been that way ever since, which is a real shame. Every time I ever see Harrenhal, I'm always like, God damn, man, that was like supposed to be like the most beautiful yet intimidating castle in all the Seven Kingdoms. And they just put that shiny coat of paint on it, and before you know it, and then Balerion the Black Dreads above it, just laying waste to it. That has to suck. But I guess the guy could have bent the knee too. So Harren and all of his sons perished in the castle, and that was it for his line. That's kind of the other little component here about Harrenhal too that I wanted to touch on, is that it has a lot of different owners under its roof or lack of roof. We see a lot of different people take over Harrenhal throughout the years. There's a big rumor that it's cursed. It very well might be. We see who's holding Harrenhal at the beginning of House of the Dragon. It is Lord Lionel Strong. If you remember Lord Lionel Strong, you saw that in the little portion there before the episode aired. Lionel Strong and then Sir Harwin. Obviously, we remember their fate. The place gets burned up. Sir Simon Strong, who's the Castellan of the castle, talks about, how in the world could a fire get started in a place that doesn't have a roof and it's raining all the time, and it could, how does a fire stay lit? Well, that'd be because that asshole Larys set the place on fire so he could get rid of his dad and he could get rid of his brother, making him the Lord of Harrenhal. Okay, so that's what happens there. We see Harrenhal also a couple other times in House of the Dragon in the Game of Thrones world. Let's take a look at that real quick. Okay, we're going back to season 1 again. And this is actually the very first scene in the very first episode of House of the Dragon. This would be the Great Council of 101 AC there with Jaehaerys, the Old King, the Conciliator, calling forth a Great Council to help decide who the heir should be. And that's obviously where Viserys wins. So again, that was held at Harrenhal. Okay, going back to season 2 of Game of Thrones, when Arya is on the run and finds herself in Harrenhal, the decrepit ruin of the greatest fortress in all of Westeros. She is met by the one and only Lord Tywin Lannister, and they have a lot of cool scenes together. Whenever Arya is his cupbearer, and Tywin is insanely impressed with her wit, charisma, and her reading skills. Another cool Harrenhal moment from season 3. It's whenever Jaime's there, not long after he loses his sword hand, and he's got to rescue Brienne from the bear pit. That would be Harrenhal as well. But I wanted to spend the time just talking about the history of the castle, and that would be from its original owner of House Hor, Harrenhal, all the way to the current owner of the house there, if you will, in A Song of Ice and Fire, which would be Littlefinger, if you recall. Littlefinger gets gifted Harrenhal after the season 2 battle at the Blackwater there, whenever Littlefinger successfully helps houses from the Reach join Lord Tywin and the houses from the west, and they basically just smash Stannis at King's Landing. Joffrey gives Littlefinger Harrenhal, and he also gives him to the overlord status of the Riverlands. They take that away from House Tully and House Riverrun, and they actually give that to Littlefinger and Harrenhal. So again, there's a ton of different stories there. There's a lot of cool moments there too. If you think back to in Robert's Rebellion, whenever they have the Harrenhal tourney there, when House Went was the lord of the castle, obviously a lot of stuff comes forward after that little tourney there, which is pretty much what sparks everything that takes place and gets Robert's Rebellion started. So again, there's a lot of cool moments there at Harrenhal. It's got a ton of history. Again, most of it bad. But I just wanted to spend some time talking about it since we got a nice introduction to Harrenhal here whenever Daemon arrived on Caraxes. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about a Sir Criston Cole scene, as the man is an absolute lightning rod, and this one here takes place towards the end of the episode. Look again, Sir Criston, he's got a new haircut in this episode. He's got a new title, and he's got new problems, mainly Gwayne Hightower, and then eventually Baela and her dragon breathing smoke up his ass. The trees and the wood line there just saving him just in the nick of time. But if we're going to look at the map real quick and where we can try to figure out this took place as they're leaving King's Landing, and Sir Gwayne references the Rosby Road. The Rosby Road runs through Rosby right there towards Duskendale. So I take it it's somewhere right in there. It looks like it's not like their main focal point. Obviously, it's just a place that they're passing through. Sir Gwayne and crew just want to find the bull, a very notorious inn apparently, and just have a good night. But Baela's got other plans for that. They make it just in the nick of time into the woods. But just a little background too, real quick on Sir Gwayne. He is actually in the first episode of House of the Dragon. It is Sir Otto's son that Prince Daemon handpicks to go against him in the lists and the joust. Sir Gwayne actually almost getting the better of Daemon in the first tilt, and then Daemon on the second tilt just going for like that absolute low blow cheap shot that sends Gwayne doing a scorpion off of the horse and just eliminating him and hurting him as Daemon's very happy to look over towards the high towers in the stands. Otto and a younger Alicent, obviously he just hates Otto, so he's going to go ahead and just destroy one of his heirs in the list. So that's who Sir Gwayne is. That is the same person that Daemon faced off in the very first episode. Okay, so something else that I wanted to bring up is just this like little snide remark that Sir Gwayne says to Sir Criston before they take off from King's Landing. And it's whenever he says that he wants to march next to a Dornishman. And when I first listened to it, my initial thought was, well, that's a weird addition, because I don't think Sir Criston's a Dornishman, right? He comes from the Stormlands. And whenever we go here onto a wiki of Ice and Fire here for House Cole, yes, he is very much from the Stormlands. He comes from a vassal of House Dondarrion, which is in the Dornish Marches. So if we go here and we take a click here and take a look at this is the Dornish Marches right here. And it is on this really like southern portion of the Stormlands before it turns into Dorne. The point that I'm trying to make is that I initially thought that was like a mix-up or a weird addition in the writer's room, or maybe just them showing that Sir Gwayne's been on the road for far too long and he's got his antennas crossed and doesn't know what he's talking about. Why are you calling Sir Criston a Dornishman when he comes from the Stormlands? What he's doing, the more I thought about it, is that he is like supremely ribbing Sir Criston. That is a nasty insult to call someone a Dornishman that comes from the Dornish Marches of the Stormlands, because what their sole goal and objective is to like in like the safety and the health of like their family and the people they care about is predicated on them keeping Dornishmen out of the Stormlands. That's why they call them the Marcher Lords. They're constantly having little scuffles, little battles and fights with the Dornishmen, keeping the Dornishmen out of the Stormlands on that like southern portion of Dorne. Or I'm sorry, that southern portion of Stormlands, right? And as you can see right there where I'm highlighting there, that's Blackhaven. That's where House Dondarrion comes from. So he's got to be, House Cole has to be coming from somewhere around there. And when you see Will right there, you see that little Will, that is a Dornish house. So again, Criston Cole, that's probably all he knows growing up. And that may be why he's such, a renowned sword fighter coming from a very modest house. The guy's just constantly being tried and tested growing up because of the threat that looms from the south. That's all they fight there. It's constantly just people from that region fighting the Dornishmen, vice versa. So for Sir Gwayne to call Criston Cole a Dornishman, that had to just be an absolute nasty insult that really hurt Criston and probably really pissed him off. And, if that happened somewhere else, not in front of Alicent in broad daylight, in the middle of like a courtyard, who knows what would have happened, right? They might have threw down. But yeah, that's just a little explanation there on that little jab that Sir Gwayne gave to Criston. If you didn't understand it or didn't get it, I initially read it wrong. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? That was well done, Sir Gwayne. It was a joke, but it's a joke that's going to sting Sir Criston in all the wrong places. Okay, last part here in this video, last little explanation and a little additional context and detail I wanted to give for this episode here before we do show MVP. It's the Master of Whispers making a big comeback here on both sides for the green and the black. Larys finally wedges his way and gets his clubfoot into the door of Aegon's small council. He's been wanting to do it, and he's finally gotten his opportunity as the man just knows everything that's happening in the castle, outside the castle, everywhere. This is really a role that's meant for him. And as Aegon said, the role was vacant during his father's reign. He didn't believe in the role. So with that, Lord Larys Clubfoot gets a really, really nice promotion to the small council and is now the Master of Whisperers for Team Green. And on the other side of the coin there, we get Lady Mysaria, the White Worm. She gets a nice little promotion. The girl was probably about to die a couple episodes ago, guys. And then, she decided to jump in at the right time when she saw the wrong Cargyle brother making a way up to Dragonstone. And she bought herself a nice little promotion as well. That's also a person that's very well connected, right? So it's someone that's also very suited for the position. Well, let's take a look here. I just wanted to go back in time here and just check out the Master or the Mistress of Whisperers. Reading it here off of the Wiki of Ice and Fire. Is the Spy Master for the Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, the Monarch of the Iron Throne. Here she is charged with gathering intelligence from informants in the Red Keep, in King's Landing, around the Seven Kingdoms, across the Narrow Sea, and other places. Unlike other positions of the Small Council, this title was not created by Aegon at first. So this one was like a nice little addition. Let's take a look here and check the history out. Tiana of the Tower, the most feared of King Maegor Targaryen's wives. That would be the third Targaryen king. Served her husband as his Mistress of Whisperers. It was said that speaking secrets in the Red Keep was foolish, as rats and other vermin were her spies. She tortured many enemies of the crown, including fellow wife Alice Haraway and her many alleged lovers. All but two confessed to adultery. Larys Strong, Lord of Harrenhal, served as Master of Whisperers towards the end of the reign of King Viserys I Targaryen. He continued to serve in the office. So that went in a little TV edition whenever he said that his father didn't really believe in a role. He continued to serve in the office under King Aegon II during the Dance of the Dragons. At the same time, Lady Mysaria, nicknamed Lady Misery, served as Mistress of Whisperers for Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen. Brynden Rivers, known as Lord Bloodraven, was a spy master. Now, this dude, I think, is actually like the sickest Master of Whisperers of all time. He takes place during the reign of Daeron II Targaryen and some other Targaryen kings after him. And then, most recently, probably the person that we're all the most familiar with would be Lord Varys, nicknamed the Spider, who was the Master of Whisperers for Aerys II, and then, obviously, King Robert, and then goes on to do a little work there for Dany down the stretch. So Master of Whisperers, and we go down here to it, and I always like these parts. No Masters and Mistresses of Whispers. We always have Queen Tiana of the Tower under Maegor, Lord Larys, Lady Mysaria, Sir Brynden Rivers, also known as Bloodraven, and then Lord Varys, and then Lord Qyburn for King Tommen, right? We all remember Qyburn. I think it's a good role to have. I mean, obviously it wasn't made by Aegon, and the guy's not going to think of everything. But if there's some kings down the line that just didn't have a use for it or a need for it, I mean, good for you, but it seems a little naive to me. It seems like an office that you should at least have your best person in there. If you got someone that's well connected, I don't care if it's Varys, I don't care if it's Littlefinger, I don't care if it's Bloodraven, if it's Clubfoot. If you got someone that can do the damn job and get you intel that you can use to act on, react, be proactive, whatever the case is, seems like an office that you should probably have. Again, you might not have a tool for that job. Again, if you don't have someone that's good for the job, whatever. But if you have a Mysaria, if you have a Larys Clubfoot, if you have a Varys, find a way to get them on the field and get them the damn ball. All right, episode MVP. It is this woman right here. It is Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen. I thought she made the best moves in this episode. I really did. And it wasn't easy either. She's got everyone talking to her, whether it's Rhaenys or whether it's her small council telling her what to do, to attack, to hold back, to try to find peace. She's got Lady Mysaria to worry about now. And again, what the fuck's Daemon doing? Daemon's off doing God knows what. She's got to give a task to Rhaena to perform that Rhaena definitely doesn't want to do. She's got Baela out there in the field. What's next for Jace? And I think the first smart thing that she did was she got her heirs the fuck out of Dragonstone. As we saw in the first 2 episodes in this season, the home base isn't safe. Look what happened with Blood and Cheese in the first episode. Look what happened with Sir Eric infiltrating Dragonstone in the second episode. She learned from that lesson quick, and she got her kids out of there, which is good because that is the succession. That is the line after her, after Daemon. And it was smart of her, I think, to get them out of there and send them out to the Vale. Now, the other big moment that she in is something that's completely made up. It's not in the books at all. Is her clandestine mission to King's Landing. It was heart pounding, even though I felt pretty good that she was going to be safe, and I didn't think this was going to be the end of Rhaenyra or anything like that. But I do have to ask the question: is what did it accomplish? It didn't really accomplish anything. There was no peace to be found there, or peace to be made. As Alicent had said, too much has already happened. Too much blood. Too much bad blood. Too much blood's already been spilled on both sides, and I completely agree with that. Even if they did find some common ground, do you really think that any of the hotheads on each side of this war would have been like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Let's lay our swords down. Let's get those dragons tethered up. We're good. You got Aemond and Aegon and Criston Cole on one side. You got Daemon on the other side. Any peace that they would have found there, it wouldn't have amounted to anything. What I do feel good about for Rhaenyra, though, is the clarity that she got. Okay, and the clarity that she got is knowing that on her father's deathbed, the father that named her his heir and gave her all that responsibility and prepped her for that moment, and even after he had sons with Alicent, he still stayed with Rhaenyra until the very end from her perspective, right? When she's getting these stories that on his deathbed, he said Aegon, and that's what, pushed the Green faction forward and crowning Aegon as the second Aegon. She's just, you can tell that she's having a hard time with this, and naturally so. I mean, I would feel completely betrayed that this person, this man that brought you into this world and raised you through this life and made you heir and stayed with it all those years, even after he had sons, something changed on his deathbed and he named Aegon his heir, and it's just not adding up, and it's got to be killing her inside. Like, what? Like, what happened? Like, are they lying? Like, did he actually have a change of heart? Well, no. Alicent actually fumbled the decipher. She didn't decipher what Viserys was saying there at the end. She wasn't up to date on the prince that was promised, and obviously that hits Rhaenyra like a sack of bricks, and she's like, "Holy shit!" He said Aegon, the prince that was promised. He's not talking about your dipshit son that a couple scenes ago was actually putting on the Conqueror's armor, which that's another thing that I thought was really funny, that Aegon II there would be able to put on the Conqueror's armor and not look like a complete buffoon. But yeah, obviously Rhaenyra gets that clarity there that, okay, my dad did not betray me on his deathbed. Alicent, my former best friend, actually just did not know what the fuck he was talking about. And that's why we're here, which it has to also be frustrating at the same time as refreshing to get that clarity that dad did not betray me, but my former best friend's also a dipshit. But yeah, so again, I thought Rhaenyra brought it in this episode. I thought she made some good moves. She definitely made a risky move. She made it out okay, and she at least got some peace of mind regarding Viserys' deathbed. So that's who my MVP is. Hey, this was a great episode. Episode 3, The Burning Mill. I'd give it an 8.0. I thought it was a great episode. Like I said, to kick the video off, it's the best one of the season. And again, I know it's a short season so far. It's only been 3 episodes, but 1 and 2 being very much in King's Landing and Dragonstone and being slow moving at times. I was starting to get a little stir crazy, like we were in a car too long going on a family vacation. I needed to get up and stretch and move around, and everything that I wished for to happen in this episode happened. We got new locations. We got people on the move. We got shit happening. We kicked it off with new characters, right? Even though like very minor characters, we got a good old fashioned Bracken and Blackwood battle to kick this bad boy off. Some shit talking, some pissing contests over land and territories, and what king or queen are you siding with? So that was right off the bat, I thought was very good. I thought the Rhaenyra scenes were very good. She made some smart moves. The Aegon scenes were good and funny, right? Criston Cole's first day as like a manager and like the jitters that come with that, and like, holy shit, do people actually like think that like I can do this? Like all the like laughing behind the back and stuff. Again, it was very relatable despite the setting. We got Gwayne Hightower coming in, then we got Criston Cole and crew leaving. We got the attack from Baela. We got Daemon taking Harrenhal with Caraxes, and a little Sir Simon Strong there. Not a big fan of his great nephew, Larys Clubfoot. We even got another Darren reference. Again, Darren references 2 episodes in a row. God damn, man, why couldn't they find a way to get him into this season? But yeah, look, like I said, it was a great episode. Everything that I wanted. Again, we weren't stuck in just Dragonstone and King's Landing this time. We were on the move. We were on the prowl. We got shit happening. We got dragons attacking. And I think it's only going to get better from here. I really do. The preview for next week looks absolutely insane. We know, if you've read Fire and Blood, you know what's coming. Again, I think that it would, I think it's going to be, I think it's going to get even better, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If I'm giving this episode an 8, my expectations going into next week is for it to be a 9 or 9 up. I really do think it was awesome. Oh, how could I forget the little meandering down to Flea Bottom there in the brothels. And once again, catching Aemond. Just... what the fuck is Aemond doing? As they man, like Aemond's got to like change that DoorDash address, dude. He got to like have people coming up to his chambers. Like he can't be seen down there like that. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. So I feel bad for who's going to get in Aemond's way after that. Like that dude looked like absolutely ready to breathe as much fire as Vhagar can muster. He looked like he was ready to equal that. But again, great episode. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who was your episode MVP? What did you think about all the additions, all the new locations and everything? Let me know. Drop me a comment. If you enjoyed this video, please like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I'll catch you guys soon. Thanks.